What is up, jabronis? JJ back here with Travis, talking a little MLB. Mango, nice to have you this morning or this afternoon, depending how you view 12 o'clock. Anything you want to open the show with? You seem like you're like less energetic today, which I think is a good thing. I mean, Tuesdays you're like riled up. Like maybe Tuesdays are a bad day for you. Saturday mornings maybe are a good day. You just seem mild mannered, calm. What says you?
Tuesdays, I will say, you got me at like the end of the night, right? You got me. I will say I'm more of a night person, right? So you probably got me at like the peak time. While some people are going to sleep, I'm out there ready to go. I woke up at I think 10. So JJ, I'm 2 hours in, so this is still the morning technically for me. I haven't even had a breakfast. I got my iced coffee as well, just like you.
At least like something's getting there, and Mango, something's getting in your head.
Yeah, we're making our way, right? It's not the I should say it's not the best baseball slate for DFS, but excited to talk the bets with you. When I woke up, JJ, I opened up twitter.com because who doesn't do that, right? And I looked at Twitter and I saw that you're going live. And I said, hey, why not jump on with JJ, right? Should be a good time. Should be fun. And we'll talk some bets. Maybe I'll sprinkle some DFS here and there since it's game by game and just give my thoughts and grab some winners with you.
Now, first of all, we have a little bit of a shout out to Tony and Hoop, and maybe even a member as well that's in the FWBC. Am I right?
Yeah, one of those, right? The Fantasy World Baseball Championship, right? So Big T, we got Hoop, and we have Glaucoma. He is one of our subscribers. Hoop, I know, has one ticket. I think Glock has one. And then, Big T might have like 10,000 tickets. You never know. There's only 125 tickets, though. But I'm sure Big T is going to have some entries, and he loves it, right? It's a nice little sticks gamer. I saw him talking it up. I think it's a little bit of a gross slate. It starts at 640. Big T will tweet the link out if you want to sweat it along. Let's say you're a bets guy and you never really sweat some DFS. Listen, these guys are playing for some big money. I think they're playing for about 500,000, I think, is the first place prize. And it should be a lot of fun. I'm excited to check it out. When we get there, it'll be the 640 game. So from there on, it'll be a fun little slate to talk about because there's a lot of gas cans on that one. So we'll definitely bring that up as we kind of get there. Maybe if there's some DFS guys, like I said, we'll talk about it. And I'm excited to break this all down. I've been pretty dialed in on MLB. I feel like my boy Sonny Gray got the job done for me yesterday. So hoping to keep things rolling.
Love it. And what's up, Kicks, Gary, and Walla? So Kicks obviously at least knows standard protocol. Seems like a lot of you don't that are currently watching. So Kicks at least could show you guys a thing or two. Mentions his name, flaccid size, and social security number. Social security number, as you guys know, is just for archival purposes. We don't actually use it for anything yet. But Mangone's been archiving them as they come in. So he's always in the background just kind of taking those numbers down. But again, fret not.
Yep, right next to your Discord username, right? Give the Discord username in the chat. Then we got the size. We got it all.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so I guess we could just dive on it. So a few earlier games today, which has been unusual for a Saturday recently, right? Saturday seems to be scheduled every game at 3 and 4. And this is actually the last, and I know this has probably been mentioned to a few different people, but this is the last non-football Saturday, is that right? Non-football weekend?
Yeah, okay, so there is, and maybe this is we can do a quick plug, JJ. We do have preseason content over at Run Pure Sports, right? I think you guys even have some bets up today, I saw. So there is technically preseason football today. We're talking like real football, right? Like we'll get some Saturday games next week. So that'll be a lot of fun. I know you guys will be crushing that. This is like, I guess the last weekend of like fake football games, right? We got to get a nice little appetizer here, but we really dive in next week where we'll have the college football and we'll have that content. Obviously, I'm sure you guys will be diving into the bets. This is where JJ starts with his 0.5 units to kick off the year because he's too scared to push the chips in to start things off.
See, Mango knows. I just feel like anybody that dives into week 1 or week 2 of college football full speed ahead is just borderline foolish because it's all basically Phil Steele data and, how you correlate that or how you aggregate it. And I guess your own personal research, but at the same time, then you have the CLV folks that bet games in May and that lose anyway. Ultimately, either way, take it light the first couple of weeks in college football. And I'll say the same thing for NFL. But needless to say, I'm happy to jump in on this slate. We got Uncle T in the chat too. What is up, Niehaus? All right, so we'll just start. Yankees Twins, Garrett Cole, Kenta Maeda. Look, I mean, what is there to say about the Yankees? I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I believe this team's won was it 25 of 35 games, something like that, to kind of springboard them right into the top of the playoff hunt, at least as far as the East goes, or the Northeast goes. Garrett Cole here, 215. Is it just me, man, going like I looked at this line. I know Maeda is respectable at least, but with how the Yankees are playing, I looked at 215 as like rather small. I expected this to be upwards of 250, which does kind of scare me a bit because I don't quite frankly understand why it's this low. I know it's like not low. It's a decent sized line, but it's Garrett Cole. It's a team in the Yankees who've been winning nonstop. They're hitting well. They're heavily motivated. Do you see it? I mean, do you personally think this is a little light? I mean, I'm usually more on the other side of things, thinking the dogs are a little big. This is light for a favorite, in my opinion. What are your thoughts here?
So you think it's light on? You think the Yankee side like is light, and you could push on that money line? I mean, obviously you don't bet that, but you're saying the money line could get more.
I just think that like I look at this as a team in the Yankees that they're playing really well, that are hitting really well. Now they have their ace on the hill. And for me, I'm used to the occasional Garrett Cole 250, 275 line. This just had the makings of what that should be. And I'm surprised. They opened it at 190. Obviously, it's moved a bit since, but I mean, because I'd assume if you're a sportsbook, you're going to be taking a lot of Yankee run line money today. And I'm just
I'll say this, JJ. I have the one of the guys tweets it out. I have like the handle on the day, right, of what it is. 93% of the handle is Yankees, and then percentage of bet is 95%. And on the money line, it's like I think the handle's taking for minus 235. It's taking 92% and then 95% on the bet. So I mean, people are on the Yankees, right? It's obvious. You obviously can't be betting like minus 235 money lines, right? I mean, that's just dumb. I mean, maybe there's another way to attack it, right? I don't know if it's like with the minus 1.5 run line, right? That's sometimes one of the approaches to take. I don't know if it's like through a first five, because Maeda obviously can have his struggles. We know that lefties can get after Maeda, and then there's that short porch, and Maeda typically plays in a park where, if you look at the Twins ballpark, I forget the name of it, but the righties have the advantage hitting wise, right? And the lefties don't. So that kind of can like help out Maeda a little bit. So maybe this is a spot where attacking the Yankees like early on, and maybe you get a bomb or two off of Maeda, where I think maybe like the first five wouldn't be a bad look.
Yeah, and to be clear, it's not like I'm saying bet the Yankees, or I don't really have a play in this game. For me, from a standpoint, it's just odd. An odd line to me. And again, if you're a sportsbook, you're going to take Yankee money here. Again, it's just an odd line. And yesterday was a very chalky day in baseball. So, when you take all these things considered, for me overall, I don't necessarily understand the line. But again, I can't jump on a trendy team being very hot because again, you're paying all that extra tax. I just don't think they're taxing you too much here for it. But again, 216 is a little out of my fun range. So I'm going to stay away. And I had no take on the total. Rays, White Sox, Lewis, Patino, and Dallas Keuchel. I'll be honest. It is tough not to like the Sox here, the White Sox, even White Sox first five. Now, I know that they blew it yesterday with their pen late, like seventh or eighth inning-ish, made it a game, but they still ended up winning. I'm not a Dallas Keuchel guy by any means. I mean, even, he had a good year, of course, a few years back with his Cy Young. This is still another lefty you're throwing at the Rays, and the Rays even with Nelson Cruz, his team severely continues to struggle plating consistent runs against left-handed pitching. I know they lost yesterday, but it was a lot closer. They made it a lot closer late. Patino is a guy I'm not in love with either, but he's also another lefty. You throw a lefty at the White Sox is a danger zone. Overall for me as a slight dog, call it a strong lean. White Sox first five. What do you think, Mango?
Yeah, I mean, I always love the White Sox, right? They're a really, really good team. I don't think people understand how good that bullpen is too. Where obviously that'll be backing them too as well with Keuchel. So, and they don't. When Keuchel goes out there, right, that's when they can kind of dive into the bullpen a little deeper if they need to, where some of those, like they have such a good pitching staff too, where they can kind of stretch those guys out, and where like this is the day where they can really use the guys that they need to kind of get those W's. So I'm with you. I would definitely lean the White Sox over the Rays here. Listen, I've been backing the Rays for a while. They've been a lot of fun, especially in DFS. I've been stacking them up. But they're going against teams like the Orioles, right? It's a little bit different. I think the White Sox get the job done here. So I'm with you. And I also think that Dallas Keuchel is a guy, like if you shop around on his strikeout prop, which I've been betting a bunch of those, as of late. And I'll probably touch upon some here and there. If you can get a Dallas Keuchel strikeout prop, like the 4.5, the problem is some of these can be too heavily juiced at times, and that one might be too heavily juiced. I wouldn't hate taking the under on that. I know it is the Rays, but he's such just a pitch to contact guy. And this is such a team that, yes, they do strike out a bunch, but they are some really good hitters, right? And I just don't know if Keuchel will go that long. So that's something I would look at, but it's kind of tough. I don't think you'll be able to find too many. Like when I bet these strikeout props, I don't really bet like the -150s or the -140s, right? So if you do want to bet these, you kind of have to get in a little early on them.
No, I like the call, and I think that goes against, it's almost like you're going contrarian, at least to a certain extent, because you're right. A lot of people almost blindly target left-handed K props against the Rays. So, and Keuchel, you're right. He's going to want to throw the contact. And you look at the lineup for the Rays, and I know that Jeff Lawson, mentioned no Tim Anderson today. I mean, look, how much does that really move the needle? I mean, don't get me wrong, Anderson's having an excellent year, but I mean, what, 12 cents, 13 cents? I mean, it doesn't move it doesn't move it all that much. But overall, we could move on. I didn't like anything myself in this game either. But yeah, got the little K prop for you from Mangone. Cubs Royals, Keegan Thompson, Chris Bubic. Yeah, I can't stress this enough. Bubic is a tough pitcher to watch. I know his ERA is 5.09, which would make you think already that he's tough to watch, but his advanced stuff's worse. He walks a ton of guys. He gives up a ton of hard contact. Interesting to see the Cubs as a favorite. It has been a long time, right, since they've actually been a favorite. I mean, even yesterday, I think it was Keller going for the Royals. The Royals were favored. So with Keller, I mean, imagine that. So today the Cubs are favored. Yeah, I mean, slight lean for me in favor of the Cubs here. I know the Cubs aren't really trying to win games, but look, let's be honest, neither are the Royals. And again, Bubic is just so tough to watch. I think overall Thompson's been okay. Again, sample size is relatively small, but he's been okay. And he's not as good as his 2.21 ERA, though, that's for sure. As far as runs go, we don't have like crazy wind in Chicago, so I'm not in love with that with the total. But yeah, strong win. I like the Cubs here. Mangone, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, this is a tough game, man. I mean, if the wind was like the other way, I would maybe have some more confidence that Bubic could get some strikeouts going, right? I kind of looked at him a little bit because his projection on the strikeouts was pretty high. But the problem, right, with this is the wind is blowing out, right? It just seems like a disaster spot. And these Cubs bats, I mean, they're getting a little bit better and healthier. I think when they were in that stretch that was like maybe like a week or two ago, they didn't have as many guys in the lineup, right? It was a lot more AAA guys. You're adding like Bodie, you're adding like Duffy. And I'm not saying these guys are amazing, right? But they're better than the guys they had out there. If you look at the lineup maybe like a week and a half ago or so, it just looks a little bit stronger. And it seems like they have been hitting better. I just think you kind of stay away from this game for the most part. It's definitely a rough one. I know DFS-wise on some of these slates, I think there's like a 1 p.m. slate, JJ, and it goes like the DK slate goes till 4 o'clock too, and it adds in like a Max Scherzer and Garrett Cole combo. And this is a game where I think people are targeting up because there are two bad pitchers on the mound, wind blowing out. So obviously it's expected to have, a lot of runs scored, and all these bats are super cheap. So you can just double barrel those pitchers and load up on this game as a game stack, which I'm sure people will be doing. I looked at it and I was like, should I play the early slate? And I was like, I just don't like anything. So I kind of just sat out DFS wise. Betting wise too, I just think it's a good game to sit out. No one wants to bet it over on KC and the Cubs. That just sounds disgusting. So I'm just going to sit out, JJ. Yeah,
I can't blame you. And again, total's 9.5, probably where it should be. And how many home runs can you really get from these lineups? I mean, maybe, but overall, I agree with you. But I do like the Cubs in this spot. All right, so Blue Jays Tigers, Hyunjin Ryu versus Willie Peralta. Peralta's been decent for the Tigers. I know 3.70 ERA, but it was less a while back. But either way, this is pretty much what you would call a smash spot for the Rays for the Jays here. However, I did not like what I saw from them yesterday. I mean, they should have been able to score a bunch of runs yesterday, and it seemed like they struggled to score. Obviously, Vlad bailed them out with the homer, but then they get tied into an extra inning game, and they end up losing that pretty badly. The Tigers are pesky, so we know that about them. That they're not nearly as bad as people might realize. 59 wins, but overall, this line is super inflated in favor of the Jays, which obviously keeps me off it. Tigers are pretty good versus lefties. There is that angle to it. But again, Ryu's a little bit certainly above the mean versus left for a left-handed pitcher. 250 Mangone. I mean, I don't see anything betting wise here for me, a full game or total. 9.5, so pretty decent sized total as well. But maybe DFS or even props you like for this game?
Oh, I mean, so Oh, this is tough. Obviously, if Willie Peralta wasn't out there, like there would be a decent shout on the Tigers. I think. Like I think you could talk me into it, but the problem is the guy on the other side is just so bad. The problem I have with this Jays team, and I think you can make an argument a little bit on maybe not it's just Peralta, so it's tough. I wouldn't hate the under on the Jays total, and I'll tell you why, JJ. It is Peralta, but that total is very inflated. If you look at that lineup sucks, man. I mean, Corey Dickerson in the 5-hole is fine. Gurriel in the 6-hole, Espinal, Grichuk, McGuire, like it's just not that. It's not the same Jays lineup. I don't think people realize that. Like if this Jays lineup had those other guys that are out, you know what I mean? Like it had a Springer in there. I don't think this total would magically be like 6.5 or 7. I still think it'd be around the same stuff. So I think it is a little overinflated, like you talked about. It is just obviously tough to bet that. Also, I don't know if people know this, in Toronto, there's a humidor there, right? Like they inserted that in there, and I don't think that people have adjusted for that either. I know Peralta's really bad, and so is the Tigers bullpen, but like if you forced me to make a bet in this game, maybe that's where I would go. I know Ryu has a decent strikeout, projection versus the number that's out there. The problem I have is if you look at his last 30 days, he struck out only 17% of batters, and then he's going against this Tigers team that hits lefties really well. So I'm just a little scared to take a shot on Ryu here. So I'm going to stay away from that. There's more bets as we get on that I think I'll like more. But if you force me to take a bet in this game, JJ, it maybe be the under on the Toronto team total, despite how scary it is. And on top of that, JJ, one more thing that helps us. If the Blue Jays do win this game, right, you're not going to get that ninth inning of at bats, which sometimes that can really hurt you when you're betting those team totals. So that's why I think the under, another reason for that.
Tell you what, though, and especially since you wanted to avoid the pens, first 5 under might be a nice spot for you. You get that 5.5.
Peralta's just so bad. It's definitely one of those, like, again, you don't have to bet this game, but if I was betting something, this is what I would bet. But it's more of like I'm holding my nose as I do it. You know what I mean? And sometimes those bets are like those bets that are like the best bets.
I agree. Dodgers, Mets, you look up and down, just so many inflated lines. And I think you'd expect to see this to a certain extent this time of year with a lot of teams giving up. But I guess it's a perfect storm matchup-wise because a lot of these good teams, playoff hunt teams, are playing bad teams. And this is not really one of those cases. The Mets are not by no means a bad team, but this is a tough matchup for them. Obviously, throwing out Hill against this Dodgers lineup and then Scherzer on the other side. 255 warranted. Who knows? Dodgers have won 8 straight. But to me, 255 is a little big. I think it probably could argue it should be about 230, 235 here. But again, do you really want to target the Mets in this spot? A team that's lost 2 in a row going up on the road against a team that's won 8 in a row. Lineup, huge edge in favor of the Dodgers, especially versus Hill, the lefty. And Hill's, for a decent part of this season was pitching really well. Kind of the wheels started to fall off over the last, I'll call it, month and a half or so. And we know what kind of pitcher he is, fastball, curveball. Fastball's not even, that's egregious even calling it that. It's probably 88 miles an hour, 87-ish. But this is another spot. I know I hate to keep saying I have a best bet I like that's a later game actually, but these lines are super inflated. It's either you like a total, you like a run line, or move on. Mango, any thoughts here, Mets Dodgers?
Yeah, I think part of what would play into this bet for me, if I wanted to bet anything on the Dodgers, which I'm not betting anything on the Mets, right? If I made a bet, I would find something based on looking at the Dodgers. The question is, what is the Dodgers lineup today, right? Because I don't know if this gets talked about enough, but like it's a Saturday, right? And I wouldn't be shocked. These Saturdays and Sundays, sometimes they do some weird lineups, even like random Wednesdays at 1 p.m. They'll give you different lineups. And like, this is a great spot to just randomly throw Albert Pujols in the 3-hole. And if he's in there, I don't know if I want to be back in the Dodgers that much, right? Like they can do a lot of dumb things. We know what Dave Roberts can do. So I would want to see the lineup before I place the Dodgers bet, if that makes sense, JJ. What do you think about that? Is that the correct?
No, it does, because you're right. It wouldn't be crazy that you see this lineup. And yeah, Pujols against the lefties in the 3-hole. Tell you what, though, his numbers this year, I know that he's obviously towards the latter end of his career, but his numbers versus lefties are actually pretty good. I mean, I know that, I'll tell you what, in the 3-hole versus for any team in that matter, I think I saw his numbers at least 2-3 weeks ago. OPS of 900-ish, 300 average. He might have tailed off a bit since, but it's definitely not bad. I know it's bad for like the Dodgers team, but overall, yeah, it'd still be tough to see him in the 3-hole, especially when you want to back them or lay a 1.5 or bet their team total. Anything props wise you might like?
No, not too much. This Dodgers team, they're fine and all. They're a good team, but they definitely have cooled off a little bit. I do think And again, I think last week was something that like these are things to take into account when you're betting. Like I think that like really shitty travel of playing that Sunday night baseball game and then having to play the next day on Monday, right at night, like that travel can mess teams up. I think it messed up the Mets. I think it messed up the Dodgers. I think it can definitely be taxing on guys. So those are things that again, I think the Dodgers they've slowed down a bit, and I think that I don't need to bet this game. There's more coming. There's definitely some spots that I like a lot.
All right, cool. So Brewers, Nats, and our guy Joey worked yesterday with the Nats upset. You love to see it.
Was Joey on the Nats? Oh, that hurts my feelings because I stacked up the Brewers because I freaking hate Patrick Corbin and there's always bombs given up. And of course, Corbin's velocity was like the best it's been all year and he looked amazing. So I should have checked the bet side before I stacked up my DFS lineups. JP.
Yeah, if I had to guess, I didn't talk about the game with Joey, but I know he doesn't like Brett Anderson. So it might have been just almost like a Brett Anderson fade with them being a huge favorite or a big. Okay. They're a big favorite, but it could have been that because you're right. Corbin's been tough to watch, but again, at some point that value pendulum does swing in a guy's favor, a girl's favor, depending on the sport. But yeah, so here Lauer, Espino, if I could be correct. I've actually liked what I've seen from him. I know a few recent starts from him. He's been a bit shelled. And Lauer, to me, you want to talk about a guy that's waking up with bird shit on the windshield. I mean, this dude doesn't strike anybody out. He walks guys, but yet he's finding ways to get ground balls. I mean, I remember his Padres days, man, going, I don't know if you do, where he was just a complete gas can on the road. And he was better at home. He had good splits in that regard. But, man, that dude is just tough to watch at times. But this year he's found ways to get outs somehow, some way. His advanced stuff has, gloom coming or doom coming. Another spot, an inflated line. I mean, I'd argue Nats run line maybe, but I don't love it. A team that's line up every day sucks. Yes, another pass spot for me, but what do you think?
Yeah, so you talk about like Lauer, like sometimes it's something to look at. Like when you are paired with like, Brandon Woodruff, right? You're with Corbin Burns. Like when you're with those guys every day, you'll learn some things, JJ. I don't know what Lauer has figured out maybe, but that kind of probably helps him out a little bit, right? I think sometimes when a pitcher goes to a new place, that pitcher can change. I will say I'm not a huge Espino guy, whatever his name is. I don't know if I'm Espino. I don't like him. I also don't like the Nationals bullpen. I know Tyrone Taylor did get hurt yesterday, and then Yelich was out of the lineup. I'm sure it was just a rest day kind of thing, and he hasn't been the best. If you force me to make a bet here again, we got some that we'll get to. I would be on the Brewers, and I'd be on them minus 1.5. I would take them run line, mainly because I don't like this Nationals bullpen, right? I don't like Espino, and this Brewers lineup is really good, man. I mean, it is loaded with a lot of good bats. I'm sure you'll see Rowdy Tellez in there. He's definitely a guy that, if you want to bet like a home run prop for fun, he probably wouldn't be a bad one to get after. Overall, I think the Brewers are a really, really solid team, and they're a team that I like backing down the stretch here, right? I think looking for spots to be on the Brewers is something that I'm going to be doing going forward.
No, I can't mind it at all. Like I say, it's tough. This is a spot where I'd like to bet the Nats, but I really can't because this is this team that doesn't want to win games. But I can't mind the spot with the Brewers. But again, Lauer just is. You got doom coming to that dude. All right, so Athletics, Giants, Sean Manaea, Kevin Gausman. I mean, Gausman, he's got to be in the running. I don't know what the odds are, but comeback player of the year of sorts. But he's had a tremendous season. Good to see him with success because he was quite a quality prospect when he first came up, and it's actually good to see him now kind of finally finding his tune. What I will say is recently, though, he's been struggling to eat innings. So I don't know how much you take into account. The Giants' bullpen's been incredible this year, to be honest, but he's been struggling to really get out of the fifth inning. I think he's done it once in his last 5 or 6 starts. He's also given up 3 earned in 3 of his last 5, which he's not exactly pitching all that well these days. And his 2 best starts have been against the Diamondbacks, who hung up their cleats. Or it probably was in the middle of their gigantic losing streak. So, again, it's hard to really justify how well or not Gausman's been pitching. Giants are definitely a market-trendy team. They've been since the 78 wins would be all that needs to tell you. But the Athletics here, Sean Manaea is a tough pitcher to watch. I used to like him a lot more. This year, though, I know his ERA is low, but his advanced stuff is not very good. And this is another lefty you throw at the Giants, who aren't hitting left-handed pitching as good as they were last year. But still, they're dangerous. They have enough dangerous bats. And Big T's boy, Wilmer Flores, and Ruff or Darren Ruff. But either way, in a pick'em spot, nothing I love in this game. I know the Athletics won yesterday. Will they, roll momentum into today? They could. Again, now you're putting Gaussman in an American League ballpark where he gets no free outs. He hasn't exactly been pitching excellent in National League against National League teams recently. So I'll pass. I do believe they should be the favorite here. So maybe there's a little bit of value if you bet the Giants. But overall, what do you think on this game?
Yeah, so Minaya has definitely had his struggles as of late, right? So if I was leaning aside, I think I would be leaning the Giants. Now, Gaussman definitely has been struggling a little bit, but you talk about the ballparks, right, JJ? This ballpark, though, it's definitely a good one for pitchers. Normally, it is a day game in Oakland. I know that kind of makes it it doesn't make it a hitter's park, right? But it leans more being a hitter's park. Or not hitter's park. It leans more better for the hitting than if it was at nighttime, right? But I definitely think leaning the Giants is the right call here because Minaya, he's kind of been falling apart a bit, JJ. And you talked about this, right? Like, typically we don't want to be like the guy that's like, okay, like Minaya's going to turn it around now. Like, let's just keep targeting Minaya, right? And Gaussman, I get it. He has had his struggles at times lately, but he can still get the job done. I have faith in him way more than Minaya. And you talked about that Giants bullpen, obviously. I think this is not that bad of a spot for the Giants, JJ. So I'm going to lean San Francisco.
Yeah, again, I can't blame you. I think there is some slight value in favor of the Giants. Just not enough for me personally to pull the trigger, but I do think there's value there. All right, Indians, Angels. Indians absolutely wiped the floor yesterday with the Angels. And today they bring out Tristan McKenzie, who's been quite a bit mercurial, if you will, this year. He's a lot more of the bad version of that word than the good. But he's had some decent starts. I believe, did he throw a no-hitter? Did he almost throw a no-hitter a few weeks back? I think he almost did, right?
I have watched a lot of McKenzie's starts, really. A lot. He almost threw that no-hitter and was absolutely crushing. I think I had turned it off because I think it's one of those things where I've watched McKenzie and I thought he's a guy that could be blowing up soon, but dude, he has found it. Like he is really, really good right now. I mean, he's a young kid that has good stuff and it's here right now. I absolutely love Cleveland today. I think they're a really good bet. I'm not a huge fan of this Angels team right now. As the season goes on, JJ, we see teams like absolutely change, right? And the Angels are one of those teams. Their strikeout numbers have gotten so high. If you look over the last 30 days with this lineup that they have, they're striking out 25% of the time. And you get a kid like McKenzie, who, again, his strikeout rate has gone up. He's around like 25% right now. He's figured out the walks, right? He's not walking people as much. And yes, he has some issues power-wise against some righties over the last 30 days, but I'm not scared of too many righties in this lineup. And some of these righties have been really, really bad. I get it. I know the Angels, they had a nice little game against Detroit where they put up a ton of runs, but that was against the Detroit bullpen. And McKenzie's stuff has looked really good. His control is there. I like the Indians a lot here, JJ. I'd be betting on them.
I'll tell you, I'll counter you with this, man, going, what is your thoughts on Demers? So Demers comes highly touted from Louisville. But he gets put in a bit of a juggernaut type of start to his career with Oakland, Dodgers, Houston. Now gets a bit of a beaten up lineup with Cleveland, at least compared to those three. And you saw a lot of positivity from his last start, right, against Houston. Does that worry you at all? Because, I mean, McKenzie, I feel like McKenzie's like on the rise this way. Demers is not that he's had a starting point anyway, because that questions were what you thought of his college career. But he came in highly touted. Any concerns there? Because I'd argue this is borderline a coin flip game, that now Cleveland's getting a little steam and they're favored, maybe a little bit because of what happened yesterday. I also like the fact this Angels team was hitting pretty well coming into yesterday's game. I know they didn't hit yesterday, but, I guess this goes back to how much confidence you have in McKenzie today.
Yeah, it's more so just McKenzie, right? It's a line -125, -120. What is it? -130?
Yeah, it might even be -30 at some books, yeah.
Yeah, and it definitely has moved in the direction of the Indians, it looked like, from the one book that I was looking at. But, man, this Indians team, people want to hate on them and say the lineup is pretty bad. But, listen, they're getting the job done, and they get the job done, man. I mean, if you look, Franmil Reyes, he has been absolutely crushing it. Jose Ramirez, those bats are doing pretty good, and they can get a pretty righty-heavy lineup against the lefty. Man, I don't want to ignore the Indians and what they're doing. They've been playing a little bit better. Those bats have been moving. I think people expected the Indians just absolutely die. They have not. And I think that this is a really good spot to back the Indians, where the bats are playing really well. McKenzie looks really good. And I get it. the Angels, the bats, they were looking really good, but that was against the Detroit bullpen, right? It was a really good game weather-wise, too, that helped them out. I just think that this is not as good of a spot for the Angels as you, but I think the Indians are in a really, really good spot.
I like the tag. I can't argue it. I look at a scenario where McKenzie hasn't really been that good, and I'm not sure he warrants a buck.
I've watched like the last 2 or 3 starts, and like I just can't. I mean, this stuff has looked really good for me.
Yeah, I mean, you know better than anybody, man. Going baseball ebbs and flows. I mean, he's in a good stretch. Yeah, I mean, you're right. Maybe not fade him so much, but then maybe if we're both kind of thinking both guys throw well, maybe some value on the under with this total bumping up a bit. At least first these bullpens.
That's a good point, JJ. The under might, and maybe the under first 5, right? If you don't want to deal with those bullpens, which is something that obviously can be a problem. Here's McKenzie's last 3 games for you. And the one was against Toronto, because that was the first one I definitely watched that I remember. He only gave up 3 earned in 7 innings. Then he went 6 innings pitched, gave up 2 earned. And then Detroit, obviously, he smashed them, 8 innings pitched and 0 earned. He went 90 pitches, 86 and 106. So, yeah. He's looked really good from what I've seen. I watched a ton of the starts, and I've been very impressed.
Oh, love it. All right, so Astros, Mariners, Jake Odorizzi, Logan Gilbert. Yeah, so this is interesting. The Mariners likely still – well, it's funny, right? It's like some people might say the Mariners don't get enough love, right? But I think that's just perturbed Mariners fans because this is a line that, in my opinion, he's given the Mariners love. I mean, you got Houston at home. They're $140. Logan Gilbert – some people like his stuff. I mean, I'm kind of indifferent to him. Odorizzi hasn't been great by any means. I mean, even he's been a little better than his surface, but surface ERA. But again, like to me, the Mariners are getting respect, like with these lines. I mean, they've been getting respect with these lines. Kikuchi yesterday, in my opinion, was getting a lot of respect. McCullers, $160 at home against Kikuchi, to me it means the Mariners are getting a lot of respect. Logan Gilbert's been good. But I do kind of think this is another spot where the Mariners are getting a lot of respect. And maybe it works itself out. To me, this line to me means if this game was played in Seattle, it would be Houston -120, -115. And to me, I saw this happen a while back with a Kikuchi start in Seattle versus Houston, where he was -110 and specifically against Odorizzi and Houston rolled. I'm not saying that happens again in this spot, but Seattle's just been getting a lot of love from the market. And it seems a bit too much here. That's why I would probably lean on the Houston side first 5 specifically, because I like Seattle's bullpen. I know they don't necessarily have a closer, but I do like that pen. That pen's opened my eyes this year, despite them giving away their best arm, I think, specifically to Houston out of the pen. But either way, I call it a lean here. Definitely not a strong lean, but lean in favor of first 5 Houston, lane and a half run. But what do you think, Mango?
Yeah, I mean, I'll admit this. I don't have a strong lean on anything in this game. Just not a game that I've really looked at too much. I saw that Gilbert, projection seemed a little bit low, but I think the juice was a little too high from what I was looking at on the K prop. But I just think it's a game that I'm going to stay away from completely. I don't really have a good read on it, so we'll just go with what we got.
All right, so moving on to the next game now. 640. This starts the DFS slate, right, Mango?
Yep. And I've looked at this one a bunch, so I'll probably have more stuff here as well. But and I like the 640 games that are on. But JJ, you got a call there. Is that your dad? Pinging in?
Negative. Negative. If it was, I would have taken well, actually, I might not have taken the call because either way, but it wasn't him. All right, so moving on. So like we briefly discussed. So obviously, you'll be able to give a lot of DFS insight here, and even maybe some more bet insight. So Wade Miley, Zach Thompson. Thompson, right? Not a whole lot to not like about Thompson, but there's a lot to not like about the Marlins. Wade Miley, wow, this guy kind of found himself again. I remember when he found himself in Houston that one year. I want to say it was 2018, 2017. I forgot what year it was, but he was very good at home. And he's kind of finding himself again, a guy that really relies on location. By no means is going to blow you away with any fastball, but does use a lot of off-speed stuff to keep hitters off balance. But again, you look at his advanced stuff, he's having a great year. But of course that's in this line, right? 210 Cincy. I can't bet this line. As far as the total, this is at times almost like a second National League course, this park. It's going to be warm. It's not going to be super warm in Cincy today. Ball likely carries, but again, you'll need help from the Marlins. How much of it will you get? Who knows? This is a complete pass spot for me, Mango. What do you think?
Yeah, so I think Miley is in a good spot today, right? The thing I like really about Miley's spot is the Marlins are a very heavy ground ball team. And that's what you need in this ballpark, right? Like Coors has definitely been, getting some more ground ball guys. It seems like guys like Sonny Gray yesterday, he matched up really well, and people are wondering why. Well, dude, the Marlins the ground ball rates are so high on the guys in this lineup, and Wade Miley can get that done. Now, if you look at some of the strikeout numbers on the Marlins, if you look over the last, we got since August 1st here, the Marlins are number one in strikeouts against lefty and K percentage. And I'm not saying Wade Miley is going to go out here and just, strike out everyone, but I just think it's a really good spot where you're going to see a decent combination of strikeouts and ground balls, where I think that leaning on the under on the Marlins team total might not be a bad idea, just because I get it. The ballpark is a little bit scary, and there's some really deadly hitters throughout that lineup, right? I mean, Aguilar is a guy that has some power and pop. Jazz definitely has some power and pop. He's got the speed as well. They can get the job done, but I think that Miley is in a really, really good spot to have some success today. So I like him in DFS. I don't know if I love the Reds DFS-wise, mainly because I do think the Reds are going to be up for some of the game, correct? And I feel like I'm not going to get those ninth inning of at-bats, which can be a little bit frustrating. I also don't think Thompson gets beat up too bad, where one of my concerns would be with this game is I want to be beating up that bullpen, right? And if the fact that I lose those not three at-bats, but the 3 outs of being able to attack the Marlins bullpen, that kind of sucks, right? So that gets me a little concerned. I sometimes overvalue that a little bit more than some others, but I think it sometimes can add up. And, sometimes you're betting something, right, JJ? You're at there's a 5.5 run total and you got the 5 and the guys just don't get there. And you're like, shit, if I could have got, another opportunity against the bullpen, I don't know. It feels like it happens more often than not. So I really like that the Reds can get the job done here. So I think that this Marlins team will struggle. And if you want to bet that, the run line minus 1.5, if you want to back the Reds, that's fine. I don't love the bats as much here. That's why I think attacking it with the Marlins team total under makes more sense for me.
No, and I can't disagree with any of those calls. Again, for me personally, I didn't have a whole lot I liked with it. So overall, thought you gave good perspective there.
Yeah. Another thing too with it, JJ, is the thing about this Marlins team, they don't walk, right? So what happens when you attack some team totals, sometimes, let's say Miley does give up a bomb, right? Okay, it's probably a solo shot more than likely, right? Because he's not going to walk as many batters. Of course, yeah, it could be maybe a 2-run shot, right? But it's rare you see the bases loaded. But I will say the bases loaded were yesterday for Sonny Gray, and he did get the job done and close that thing out. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, JJ.
All right, cool. Let's move over to Baltimore Atlanta. So as you guys know, Baltimore 3.5. That play missed from Friday's solo video. And yeah, look, the Orioles get another susceptible lefty here in Smiley. Big difference here, though, is that now the total for the Orioles is 4.5, which does make a big difference. If you guys know, I've bet the Orioles team total multiple times this season when it was 3.5. I have not bet it a lot at 4.5, if at all. Maybe done it once or twice. And also, look, I felt yesterday there was a tremendous amount of hard contact from the Orioles. I didn't watch the entire game, but I watched a decent amount of it. And there was at least 3 or 4 balls that got to the warning track. There was a bunch of hard hit balls in the infield that found gloves. But again, this is what you expect from the team in the Orioles, who hits lefties hard. That doesn't always mean it translates to runs, though. Drew Smiley has been a tough pitcher to watch. Now, the difference with Smiley is he does strike guys out. Which is a little different than Max Fried, who struck out 3 guys over a complete game shutout yesterday. The other thing that bothers me here is the Braves bullpen is ready to go. They don't have a great bullpen, but their closing arms, much like many teams, are good closing arms, or at least above average closing arms, in terms of their hold guys and their setup guys from the 6th or 7th on. Smiley definitely doesn't eat innings, and he's gonna face a lot of tough righties here. Total 10.5's high, but Harvey's been terrible. He's had a few decent starts, but outside of that, he's been terrible. Look, overall, I know some people might thought this would be my best bet, but it's not going to be. Look, I went against the grain for me yesterday. I don't like to root for teams that are in gigantic losing streaks. I did it yesterday because the spot kind of made sense. I thought it was all correlated to why the Orioles total was only 3.5. Didn't come through. Today, it's actually 4.5. Again, against a worse pitcher. Look, I'm not going to bet it, so the Orioles will probably score 25 runs today. But with that said, I don't like anything specifically here. I definitely can't lay 180 on the road with Drew Smiley. I know that the Braves are winning and the Orioles are playing a terrible baseball as a whole. But there should be runs in this game, whether it's from the Braves or the Orioles. Mango, what are your thoughts here? DFS-wise, this game's got to be up there.
Yeah, we should definitely talk some weather here too, because I think I don't know if the hurricane's going to be there at all, but right, we got some possible storms that could cause some issues throughout the game. I do want to talk about Matt Harvey because there was talk of, is Matt Harvey back? Right, the Dark Knight. No, he's not back. Right, I mean the teams that he pitched really well against, right? He pitched well against Kansas City, 0 earned runs, and right after the All-Star break. 0 earned runs against Washington, 0 earned runs against Detroit. Then he had 2 earned against the Yankees, where we know they can be a K-happy lineup, and he only went 4 innings anyways. The Tigers, then he gave up 3. And the Rays, they gave up 5. This is not going to end well for Matt Harvey, right? There are some really good bats in this lineup. I'm in the camp of JJ, and I get it. It's can be overinflated. If you've been betting against the Orioles, just keep riding it, right? It's just when is the time to jump on, right? That's the question you got to ask yourself. Do you keep jumping on? Now, if you jumped on during the 10-game losing streak, I don't know what they're at right now. It's been pretty bad. JJ, do you have that up in front of you or no?
The only thing I'll say to this is tomorrow, the Braves, at least right now at DraftKings, are $1.25. So, I mean, you want to talk about, I know it's a Sunday and that's when weird things happen. But as far as when this streak ends, John Means tomorrow, he's only plus. Imagine the Orioles, if they lose today, they would have lost 18 in a row. Tomorrow they will be plus 105, which is to me wild.
Interesting. Yeah, I thought I saw Travis d'Arnaud. I don't know if you went on the DL or the paternity list or something. So you lose him in that lineup too, which could be a hit the next couple days. But yeah, I can't find it right now. But they're on a 16-game losing streak, JJ. So if you've been riding it, continue to ride it. I just don't know when the right time to jump on is going to be. I do think there's going to be runs scored. DFS-wise, I'm definitely going to look at the Braves. You know why? I get the 9 innings, so I get all the at-bats I can. I get a guy like Freddie Freeman who's been absolutely mashing the ball. And these guys are kind of really, really expensive because they've been absolutely crushing it. So we know how bad that Orioles bullpen has been. I heard AP say it on the show yesterday. I believe they've given up 31 home runs in this really bad stretch. But they've just been a disaster, this bullpen. And they did I think they used some of their better arms yesterday. I don't have the numbers in front of me.
They did.
Yeah. Because they were really trying to grind out when they were down 3-0 to get back in that game. But I think that this is a good spot for those Braves. What's the team total on that? Could we bet that, JJ? It might be a little.
It's got to be. I don't know it exactly, but it's got to be 6.5, right? It's got to be.
Yeah, I think I saw somewhere. I see 6.03. Yeah, I mean, it's just. It's I hate betting those super high team totals, right? But I know Big T said on a show the other day, he thought these were exploitable spots, and I wish I knew what the numbers were, when these team totals are just so high, and it's a good way to attack it. Do you have a read on that?
Yeah, I think that for me personally, I'll never bet a team total over 6. So if I see it, I'd almost more blindly bet it under because ultimately there's a few factors in there where you see 6. For instance, example last night, the Braves total was 6.5, and it's just one game, but. To me, the only way you get a 6.5 number, if you're not at Coors Field, is you have a bunch of correlated factors that have pushed that number to 6.5. Either a team is going streaking, or the team they're playing has an awful bullpen, or a subjectively recency bias bullpen. Because think about it, Baltimore is a great hitter's park, but to ask a team to score 7 runs in any given day in that park is a big ask. I don't care how warm it is. I don't care who's pitching. It's a big ask for one team to score 7 runs. And the Braves yesterday looked good, but you can see how even if you get runners in scoring position, it doesn't translate to 7 runs. So yeah, my thing is if you go off that moving escalator, if you will, for how totals move up to 6.5. To me, I'm more of a fade that number. But again, Coors Field is a different animal because to me, you can see that number often at Coors for a team. But outside of Coors, 6.5, you see that I'm more inclined to blindly bet it under.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was just curious, but we talked about this game a lot. I mean, I don't have strong bets on it, but I think this is one of those games that a lot of people are definitely they're forming those big time parlays, right? They're 5-game parlays. You can't miss out on Atlanta money line in the 5-gamer here, JJ.
No, I can't disagree. You want to move on to the next game, or you got anything else here?
Nah, yeah, we can move on to the next one.
All right, so Boston and Texas, I mean, talk about two teams going in 2 different directions. I mean, don't get me wrong, Boston has had more success this year than their current stretch, but they've still look, let's be honest, they're still playing above their pay grade. I mean, no one expected them to be this good this late. Now, granted, no one expected them to jump out to the big lead they had, but the Rays hung in there and obviously have caught them and been ahead for quite some time now. Eduardo Rodriguez, 330. Look, I say this. Yesterday was a super chalk day. A lot of chalk came through. Eduardo Rodriguez, I know people like him. Like you really dig into his advanced numbers and you can really find things you like. But I'll tell you what I don't like. I don't like his weighted OBA versus lefties and righties. He absolutely gets mashed. I know that there's other things about him that are good. His K rate's good. Not a tremendous amount of hard contact, but he's still giving up a lot of base hits. Jordan Lyles, though, I mean, you want to talk about who's been a gas can this season. It is going to be tough sledding for him to find outs against this Red Sox lineup. 330 is so interesting. I mean, yesterday, think about this, man. Yesterday, Chris Sale was 330. So, I mean, Chris Sale came out of AAA looking tremendous, looked good in his first start, looked good again yesterday. And you're almost implying that Eduardo Rodriguez is the same pitcher. But I also think bookmakers are basically taking a stand. They're like, look, we know a bunch of you guys are going to bet these big favorites. You're probably going to parlay them together. You want to bet them fine, but you want to bet Boston today behind Eduardo Rodriguez, lay 330, good for you. You want to bet next game Cardinals behind J.A. Happ and lay 200, again, good for you. I mean, you want to bet in some of the earlier games we discussed, like the Yankees. Garrett Cole's a little underpriced, but you want to bet Ryu today at 260 with a degraded Jays lineup. Go ahead. I think this is more of a market influence that's making this line what it is. But again, it is hard to feel good about backing any flavor of the Rangers today, and I certainly won't be. Total 9.5 makes sense. It's a decent sized number for this park. But all things considered, this will be another spot I overall pass. I don't even have a lean I like in this game. But what say you, Mango?
Yeah, so I actually want to ask you something. I know Jordan Lyles is terrible. He's definitely someone that, in DFS-wise, people are going to target the Red Sox. Eduardo Rodriguez is on the bump. What do you think this Texas Rangers current lineup strikeout rate is? What's your guess?
Versus lefties?
Yeah, against lefties.
I think it has to be high. I don't know, 21%.
Yeah, so you would think it's high. It's only 19%. Now, I think some of that is some of the sample size I might have with some of these younger guys in the lineup, but I talked about it on the show yesterday. I thought there was a lot of ways that Chris Sale could fail DFS-wise, right? They pull him early. I also talked about how the strikeouts aren't there as much as you'd think, right? I know Chris Sale is matchup proof and all that stuff, right? He's definitely a guy that can get the job done. I think we're going to look back on this Rangers team in maybe 20 days, 30 days and go, they're not as much of a strikeout heavy team as we thought and we've been wanting to target. I think they pulled up some younger guys that are some better contact hitters. Again, some of the sample sizes I've seen have been a bit small, but I just think that some of these guys in this lineup from the numbers I'm seeing, and again, they're small samples, but it seems like they're hitting a little bit better. And this Red Sox ballpark, there is a humidor there, but that is good for some of those power bats, right? A guy like Adolis Garcia, a guy like Solak, those are two righties that can get a hold of him possibly. I'm not saying I want to bet the Rangers or anything, but I am a little more concerned with Eduardo Rodriguez than I think others are because I don't love his upside DFS-wise. I did look at the K projection, and I look at the projections a ton when it comes to the strikeouts. The problem is I don't love the number that I'm getting. It's 6.5, and I see 6.2, 6.1. I might blindly bet it just to bet on myself a little bit here because I do think that this Texas team is a little bit better. I want to see what the lineup is, and I do think this is a spot where maybe you see more bets on people betting on Eduardo Rodriguez, so I might wait for that number and see what happens. If I do bet it, I'll put it on the Run Pure Bet sheet, but I just don't think that this lineup, I'm not saying it's a good lineup from a hitting perspective, JJ. I just don't think it strikes out as much as people think.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. I mean, you got a pretty decent over umpire for tonight's game.
Okay.
And those have been few and far between in this league. 15-7 to the over. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but Ayasagna is behind the dish tonight.
Yeah, okay. I have him as neutral at what I'm looking at, but I typically like to look at some others, and I don't have enough tabs up. But again, I'll put this on the sheet if I do bet it, and I'll notify you.
I think I like that a lot for a few different reasons. Now, I will say that you probably have him as neutral because, and this goes against how you determine. I mean, looking at just over-unders for an umpire is a bit surface level. His strikeouts per game are high for an umpire, especially So he's basically at near 20 per game, which, believe it or not, Mango, and even though he's the best over umpire on this entire slate by a wide margin, he's also the biggest strikeout umpire on this entire slate by a decent margin. So again, you rarely see that, but that might be why you see him as more neutral. He's also it's super odd because like if you look at his numbers too, like he also is decently high on the walk end per game, on the whip end per game. So it's almost like, how is this dude 15-7 for overs? I bet you it has more to do with he must be really flirting the line with those unders, like when they come through, or the overs when they come through, like just glaring over or whatever. But either way, so I think I agree with you. Looking at more, he's probably more of a neutral. 6.5 though, yeah, it's a big number for a guy in Rodriguez who doesn't necessarily eat innings, right? I mean, the dude barely ever goes more than 5 innings.
Well, you said the walks are a bit up too, JJ. Like, I mean, listen. Eduardo Rodriguez, he is a guy, when you squeeze him, like that could be a bit of an issue, right? It depends, obviously, what you think of this umpire when you dig into the data. I just look at this Texas line, and I want to see what they put out there, right? I wouldn't even be shocked if they throw a little Brock Holt out there, because that's what they always just do, crazy stuff. But I want to see the lineup. I want to see how it moves. So I don't think it moves against me too poorly, where I think it even could move the other way. And I just think, I'm kind of betting on this Texas lineup from what I've seen and been watching. I just don't think they're as strikeout heavy as people realize, and I think the aggregate has not caught up to them.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that at all. I mean, like I said, you get a guy in Chris Sale who's got filthy stuff for a lefty, and I mean, he struggled really to get through. Not struggled, but he gave up a lot of decent contact yesterday. Obviously, if you got squeezed through, but guys like Brock Holt are contact guys. Kind of Falefa was a contact guy. I'd argue Garcia is more of a free swinger, but.
He's their best free swinger, and it's against a lefty, JJ, right? Like that's a spot where that could turn into a home run, right?
Yeah. I agree. I think the more and more I'll look into it and I'll see, because I think you're right. That number is not going to go the other way. So I think you wait, maybe even past 4 in the afternoon, and then you fire on that 6.5 number, thinking it might get a little better. Because I like that. I really like that spot, man, going for Eduardo Rodriguez. I'm just a little gun shy. The last time I bet a player prop was, or at least 1 or 2 player props ago, was when I bet one of the Houston pitchers. I forgot who it was. It was cruising through 3 innings. I bet it's over 4.5, 4 Ks through 3 innings, and comes down to the 3rd inning and, I don't know, hurt his back or something through 30 pitches, and out he goes. So I'm a bit gun shy on the player props. I usually am, but I really like that one. I might end up firing myself on it. All right, cool. So next game, and we got there's 3 more games here. Cardinals Pirates. J.A. Happ, Dylan Peters. Again, this is the books telling you want to bet the Cards. Here's late 200 with J.A. Happ. I don't like anything about this game in any flavor, so I'll just pass this to you, Mango. Maybe you do. I do think from a DFS perspective, this is one of your high leverage games, because I don't think this is going to be a target in really much of any flavor. But what do you think?
Man, poor J.A. Happ. He is a tough one. It's funny because the projections like him a little bit, and the reason why is because he can get strikeouts, right? But he can give up runs, so that's kind of the reasoning for it. I believe. Let me pull up the projections that I looked at on it. Because it is funny. Happ's strikeout prop today is at, or not his prop, his projection is at like 5.7, 5.8. You pull up the actual prop on Happ, and I believe it is an interesting one. I think it's at the 4.5 number I saw. Yeah, it is at 4.5, and it's like it's almost even money, right? It's minus 110. I think you can take a shot on J.A. Happ's K prop. You're holding your nose a little bit. Now, you are in St. Louis where the humidor is pretty good. I'm kind of also waiting on the Pirates lineup, right? Because what can the Pirates do? They can get a little righty heavy, and that is where J.A. Happ has his struggles. So that is something I'm looking at to see how much power and pop they got in that lineup. So if I bet the J.A. Happ prop, I'll post it in the chat. I want to see the lineup. And I know sometimes you lose some vig from doing that, but I don't think you got people chasing to bet J.A. Happ strikeout props, right? JJ, I don't think it'll move too much by the time I get that Pirates lineup. Would you agree?
No, I don't think you're going to say. I can't imagine people are lining up to bet that prop. Even if it was a number they liked, I think they'd second guess themselves in both directions.
Yeah, and on the opposite side, you got Dylan Peters there, and the Cardinals have been having some pretty good bats. Do you know how long Peters might go? Because I don't know if the Cardinals could be a good target in general. I don't know much about Dylan Peters, but I do know Big T and the heater he's on. He was talking about Peters up last week, which I was like, what are you doing, Big T? But it didn't hurt him. It didn't help him, I think, in his lineup. But Dylan Peters, I feel like, isn't really a great guy to go out there and pitch in DFS or even bet on. And then you got that Pirates bullpen you're probably going to see for 5 or 6 innings. That bullpen sucks, and the Cardinals have been swinging definitely a decent bat. So there could be some ways to attack the Cardinals, I think, here.
No, I can't blame it at all. I mean, look, Pirates are a team I've rolled their sticks throughout. Their lineup these days, they have a few guys at the top, but it's a true black hole at the bottom. But yeah, I mean, look, I've liked this Pirates team. I think they've been very targetable despite their 43 wins. Not from a winning perspective, from a bats perspective. This could be that. I mean, what's the team total getting hung for the Pirates right now? Was it 3.5? You said, Mango?
I'm sure it's probably around there. Let me look. I will say, if I did bet on the Cardinals, I wouldn't be betting on J.A. Happ. I would bet on like the team total of the Cardinals. If that's something I took a shot on. You have a team total, by the way, for the Cardinals. Wow, it's 5.37. I'm surprised to see that number. I didn't think it would be that high. That's wild. You got 3.5 on the Pirates here.
3.5 at dog money for the Pirates. Yeah, I mean, again, look, Happ sucks. But
if it's a full righty heavy lineup, JJ, which it could be, right? Like they could go really righty heavy for power. Then that team total looks a little interesting. I do think with the Pirates, you do want to see the lineup. I think that's very important.
Yeah, and I think that even no matter what that lineup looks like, the line's not going to move much because of it, positive or negative. So I think you're right, Mango. If you're going to bet the Pirates, at least make sure they're not sitting two other guys, because it matters with a lineup like theirs that has so many struggles up and down. You lose like Reynolds sits. Like, to me, it's a no bet. If Stalling sits, it's a no bet. Like, these are righties you need in the lineup today. Cabrian Hayes, you need these guys in the lineup today if you want to bet their team total over.
Yeah, you just got to make sure, right? You just don't know with these managers. So again, I don't think you're losing too much vig. Where I just wait and see. Again, it's not a best bet by any means. I think there's interesting bets here on both sides, but I think that's ways you can attack it.
All right, so we move to the Rockies Diamondbacks, and yes, if you stayed this long, this is my best bet for the day. Now, I gave this away at about 8:30, 9 a.m.-ish on Run Pure's end. And this line has moved a bit as kind of anticipated, so it's actually not what I was then, but I'll give you what it is now. This is 6 at BetMGM. It was 6.5 a few hours ago. Now it's, don't get me wrong, you can still get 6.5, but you're laying $1.40, whereas 3 hours ago was 110. It doesn't surprise me why it moved, and here's why I like it, and I even like it under 6, which is minus 115. Kyle Freeland is a guy that I've not so much touted, but a guy I've liked throughout his career. I think he's a crafty lefty. We know he doesn't throw that hard, but he's a guy that finds ways to get outs. And I know that he had a poor start against the Marlins like a few weeks ago, but outside of that, this dude's given up 2 earned or less in 3 and 4 of those last 5 starts. He's kind of figuring things out, and he's finding ways to eat innings. And let's also look at who he's been facing. I mean, he faced the Giants. He faced the Dodgers twice, the Padres twice. These are all over his last 6 or 7 starts. And again, he's starting to find his form, or what I'd consider his form. Now, of course, the Coors Field factor sucks when you bet unders, right? It's never fun rooting for there not to be runs in Coors. So let's move over to Zach Gallen, a guy that's probably going through the worst stretch of his short career. This was a guy, if people remember, I think he had like 23 or 24 straight quality starts either a year or 2 ago. And so, yeah, he's been a different pitcher over his last few starts. But again, let's look at who he's faced. Padres, the Giants twice, the Dodgers, the Cubs before they blew up their entire team, the Giants again, the Padres again, the Brewers, the Giants. Not like this guy's had easy sledding. Now, he did face the Rockies a while back, and he gave up 4 earned. But overall, I think that this is a good spot for him to right the ship, if you will. He's given up 3 earned or more in 4 of his last 5 starts. But again, faces a Rockies lineup that certainly has its issues towards the middle bottom of it. And I just think 6.5 is a huge number. 6 is a huge number. So for me, first 5, I don't want to touch bullpens here. Diamondbacks bullpen sucks. Rockies bullpen sucks. I think first 5 under 6, Diamondbacks, Rockies, that's my best bet.
Okay. So real quick, JJ, before we talk about this game more, have you seen who's in the YouTube chat right now?
Big Tony.
Big T! He's in the chat, hanging out with us, getting ready for the final. So wish him luck. Give him the, wish him luck on Twitter, right? Go comment on all of his stuff and say, hey, I'm pulling for you today. He'll be tweeting out that link, so check it out. He is on the Pit Humidor, train as well. I know he's a big J.A. Happ guy. He backs him a little bit, so I might have to sprinkle, ride the heater with Big T. I might have to sprinkle that J.A. Happ over on the 4.5 at minus 110, JJ, for strikeouts.
That was, good luck rooting that one in. I mean, that's good. You want to talk about a sweat? That would be quite a bit. And of course, look, you love to see Tony coming in, watching the show before his big final. Hope obviously wish you nothing but the best of luck, Tony, and hope you Hoop or one of our members takes it down for sure.
All right. So again, what was your best bet? You said 6.5. Oh, was it over under? What was the best bet?
First 5. Oh, I put 6.5 in the sheet in here. God damn, it's 6 now. So I don't want to be that guy that's giving out numbers that don't exist. It is 6 right now at BetMGM. I don't see a number at multiple spots for whatever reason, but BetMGM it's currently 6 minus 115 under first 5.
Okay, under first 5. Okay, that's interesting because again we got the final coming up right for these guys, and Coors that the wind is blowing out. It sounds like in Coors. So JJ taking a stand there with that one. I'll admit, like Colorado, I don't have any like strong stands on this. I don't know what I'm doing with it DFS wise. I know it's a great game to attack some bats here and there. It's obviously going to be one that at the final people are going to be playing DFS wise. I'm going to consider it, but I'm going to look around and try and figure out what to do based on ownership and all that stuff. But I will say Kyle Freeland, he has definitely pitched better than I think people expected this year, but this Arizona lineup, it's getting better, right? I'm not saying Arizona is a good hitting team, but it is getting better. I mean, you got Nick Ahmed, Ketel Marte, Cabrera, Kelly, Pavin Smith. You got Christian Walker in the 6 hole now. Even Rojas, we've seen him bat towards the top, and I know he's a lefty, but he's in the 7 hole now, and he's not like the worst hitter in the world. Like this Arizona lineup is improving. So
the team can slap.
Yeah, they're definitely becoming a better squad. And speaking of a team that can slap, right? And the slappers, right? That's pretty good for in Coors, right? Those doubles turn into triples. I just didn't sleep on Arizona too much today. If you told me they weren't going to be owned in DFS and everyone's going to be on the Rockies, if I can get the Arizona side pretty low owned, I would consider it.
Yeah, and again, I think that I looked at this from a few angles. I thought about laying the half run with Colorado first 5. I just have my concerns. I think that I have my concerns over both. I think this is probably going to be a little bit of a closer game in general. Again, I won't bet the Diamondbacks to win. I said that months ago when they were in their first big losing streak. They've had 2 double-digit losing streaks this year. But yeah, I think overall, I think it's a good spot. It's a number spot. I want to be clear, man. Going if it's 5.5 here, I don't bet it. At 6.5, 6, I really like the spot. So overall, yeah, I think overall it makes sense to for these guys to wiggle themselves out of jams. But in Coors, anything can happen. You could be 0-0 heading into the 5th, and that thing blows up pretty quickly. But either way, any other thoughts here, man? We go to the last game.
No, one last thing I'll say is Jeff in the chat, maybe pull it up. He wants the 2 thumbs up. So JJ, give it for Big T. Give him the 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, I mean, guys, thumbs up. I mean, it's not hard. I mean, I get it. If you're somebody who has carpal tunnel, it might be hard. But I assume you've already taken those necessary precautions if you're in front of a computer. Wireless mouse, if you will. Trackpads can be a bitch if you're using a laptop or if you're using a mouse with a wire. These all can deter you from hitting the like button. So yeah, just go ahead and smash the like button. Do us a favor. Thank you, everyone. All right, so last game, last but not least, maybe Padres Phillies. Joe Musgrove, Aaron Nola. Woof, man, what happened to Nola? I mean, this dude was a premier ace in this sport, and over the last month-ish, he's been everything but that. I don't know if it's a mechanical thing. Baseball's a finesse sport to a certain extent, and pitchers are creatures of habit, so we'll definitely give him some slack there. But it's been an odd stretch for me to watch from Aaron Nola. And Joe Musgrove, you want to talk about a pitcher that's tough to watch. I mean, this guy relies on swings and misses outside the zone. You would almost think by now batters would know, if it doesn't look like a fastball, just don't even swing at it. It's likely not going to land in the zone. But again, easy for me to say from my chair. But overall, I think that the Padres here are warranted to be $1.50. And it's a fair line overall for me, and I'll stay away. And even the total at 8 is probably about right, or it should be about right. What are your thoughts here, Mingo?
Why are you sleeping on Philadelphia a bit? I mean, I know the Padres lineup is, it's better, right? You're scared of Tatis, but man, I don't think Musgrove is any good. I mean, he definitely has his struggles. I think he's been struggling as of late, and I shouldn't say any good. That was probably a little egregious, but I don't hate the Phillies. At the plus 140, if you can get that number. I don't know if that was the open I just saw, but what number do you have on the Phillies right now? I don't think it's like
their team total. It should be 3.5. Oh, you mean the plus 140?
Okay, yeah. I mean, listen. Aaron Nola, he has had his struggles, right? But if you look at some of these, I don't know, I'm looking at the last 30 days, JJ. I mean, the xFIP's what, like 378. The strikeout number is 28%. I don't think it's the end of the world. I think he's, his WOBA's pretty low for the most part. You got Tatis in there, right? I think overall, Nola, he had some struggles, right? He was dealing, I think, with an injury for a little bit, and these Phillies, I wouldn't sleep on them because I think it's more of a bet against Musgrove for me. I haven't liked what I've seen from Musgrove as of late. So I don't mind kind of betting against Musgrove a bit and getting some like dog money. And if you tell me this is going to keep moving, JJ, maybe I'll wait till it's plus 150.
It very well may. It's tough to say exactly because Padres always take money, or seem to always take money, but Musgrove certainly hasn't taken money through this year. I think people kind of see what's been behind the curtains for him. But again, not to say he's had a bad year. He hasn't. He's just so reliant on guys swinging at pitches that aren't strikes.
But these guys don't do that, right? They don't strike out a ton, the Phillies. So I think this lines up really well as like a decent Phillies spot. I mean, of course, the park is not glamorous, right? I would love to see that lineup because, man, they played – who'd they play the other day? Bonifacio? I mean, they definitely had a pretty ugly lineup. But I'm seeing right now in the projected lineup, I mean, you got Abdul Herrera, you got Segura, Harper, Realmuto, Gregorius, McCutchen, Miller in the 8-hole. Torres. This Phillies lineup, if that's the lineup, it's not that bad, man. Like, I wouldn't sleep on the Phillies here. I think it's an interesting shout.
And you've convinced me here. I mean, I really like as a strong lean. Philly first 5, grabbing that half run, tied after 5 innings. Not crazy to think. It's not like the Padres are ripping the seams off the ball these days anyway. I know Tatis is always scary, but he's one bat. And I say that, and of course, he'll likely hit 2 homers in the first 5 innings. But either way, I think it's all correlated. I think Nola's struggles are in this line, and I think Musgrove kind of finding himself. Musgrove's been better at home. He doesn't have as much home road splits like Blake Snell, but he's been better at home. But to your point, Philly doesn't really strike out, and these are the types of teams that give Musgrove trouble. Guys that are willing to sit there with the bat on their shoulders and make you throw strikes. Philly's kind of been that, and I do like the spot for Philly. I'm with you.
Yeah, you love to see it. I convinced JJ on that side. I don't think it's my best bet. I haven't given out my best bet yet. I would say, I guess we could do it now because we're towards the end.
Yeah, well, I guess no better time than now, Mangone.
Yeah. I was trying to think through, like, as the show went on, like, what would you guess my best bet would be, JJ, from like the conversation we had? What do you think it would have been?
Eduardo Rodriguez under 6.5 Ks.
So I like that one, and I'll give that one, but I'm also going to give like an actual, like side or total, right? Because of course we're not just going to give the props only. And I know not everyone can access every prop. I would say the under on Eduardo Rodriguez though, 6.5, I like a lot. The one I like the most, I think though, is the Tristan McKenzie and the Indians, right? I'm going to back them at -125, -130, whatever you can get, right? I don't think it's too big of a deal. If you're getting like -140, -150, then no, probably not. But yeah, where it's at right now, I'm cool with it. We'll go with the Indians money line, JJ.
Awesome. Love it. Got them both in the chat for you. So yeah, folks, you have 3 bets, and you have what we consider our collective strong lean. So Mangone likes Indians money line -125. He also likes Eduardo Rodriguez under 6.5 strikeouts -115. I have as my best bet. Now I'm kind of losing my own train of thought. First 5 under 6, Diamondbacks Rockies, and I think collectively our spoken through best lean from the video is Philly first 5, grab the half run, get that -110. Other than that, that about wraps it up, man. Thanks for doing the show. Of course, good luck to all the Run Pure folks, including Big T Hoop and members that are in the Fantasy World Baseball Championship. Wish you all nothing but the best of luck. And as always, folks, head over to us at Run Pure Sports, runpurebets.com. See what we're all about. Man, you want to hit him with the quick promos?
Yeah, RPS NFL 15 gets you 15% off on either the bet side or the DFS side for life. If you lock yourself into that membership, you'll be stuck with that as long as you stay with it, right? You can't just like jump off board and be like, hey, can I get back with that? No, you gotta stick with it. So use that code. NFL around the corner, college around the corner, and I mean, for some people, NFL is already here, right? I mean, we got it going on still. We got the preseason, and good thing I put a shell lineup in, JJ, because I just realized my 1 o'clock slate has locked, and I didn't check my team. So hopefully my team is not a problem here.
Well, as long as you put later guys in, you should be fine, right?
I have a lot of later guys. I think I knew that going in, and I was like, it won't be a problem. I didn't think I only have 2 guys locked in. So we're okay, JJ.
All right, cool. But other than that, thanks guys for hanging out. We'll be back tomorrow. Me, Joey, and Holden running down the slate again. Mangone, thanks for hanging out as well in the chat. As always, folks, gamble responsibly, stay safe, run pure, and we'll see you next time.